Hi, this is Tasheena.
And this is Jonathan.
And this is We Watch What We Watch, where if you see any goodness in us, it's just the reflection of our Tycho's goodness.
Exactly. Well, let us not pretend.
Oh, we're going to get into some epic friend zoning in this episode.
Yes. So today on our Shōgun rewatch, we have episode 8, The Abyss of Life. Toranaga's defeated clan moves to Edo. Blackthorn must decide who he fights for. Very cryptic.
This episode should be renamed Loyalty Can Be a Bitch. Because really, a lot of this is about what is loyalty? Can loyalty go too far? Is there an end to loyalty? And we have a lot of soul searching in this episode.
Yeah, so at the end of the last episode, we end with the crushing, literally, defeat, crushing death of Nagakado. Very sad ending.
Mm-hmm. So I will refrain from the rest of this season. I'm doing my voice for him. Rip. We're burying the impression along with him.
So we open with Toranaga's defeated army marching to Edo, with his brother's army close behind to keep tabs on him. And it appears that Toranaga is sick.
Yeah, he's got a bad cough,
hacking,
man.
And they're on their way here because with Nagakado, his son, having died, he is now given a 49-day period of mourning. So he's allowed to return to Edo to sort of set his affairs in order and mourn his son. So
buys him a little bit of time instead of just going straight to Osaka, which is the original plan.
So we get this little detour here.
Mm-hmm.
We get Yabu, of course, commenting on Nagakado that slipping on a rock is not a death he hadn't thought of, and to record it in his book.
I'm glad they brought the book back.
Slightly above, below boiling, but above eaten by dogs.
Above eaten by dogs. Oof.
Yep.
I don't know, in between that, those both sound really rough ways to go. Yeah. Okay.
We have John commenting on, at least Nagakado died fighting, and interestingly here, now that Toranaga's accepted defeat, now that his son is dead, all this stuff, he sort of cuts John loose and gives him what he wants, what he's been asking for. Okay, here's your stuff. Your crew is here in Edo, and you have your ship back.
Yeah, Mariko
it's all
gives
yours.
Him the journal, too.
Yep.
The floating journal. Since he made it known he wants nothing to do with them at the council last episode, it looks like...
Yeah, he will not be required to go and
Toranaga's like, you know what? You don't want to throw your hat in with us? That's fine. You don't have to go with us. You're no longer loyal to me. Bye. Peace.
I don't know if it was necessarily I don't know if that was the interpretation.
Okay.
Like it was oh fine, I think it's just I thought it was more just Toranaga like, yeah, you're not part of this, so you don't need to come die with me.
Yeah. I mean, he did look a little peeved at him when John tried to come up and
so he was sorry for his son for his loss.
Like, this is like, yeah, okay. And just kept on rolling.
Because further in the episode, they're still expecting him to show loyalty. Like in his conversation with Yabu and stuff. So the conversation was not, if he had been sort of spitefully cut off, like, fine, get out of here, he wouldn't have been repeatedly asked to, no, you must stay loyal to Toranaga. I think it was, he released him of his obligations, not necessarily. Now, there are some losses that came in that, like, he wasn't put up in the castle. It's like, okay, fine, you no longer have an obligation to me, but you're going to stay out of here.
As we see with the end of the episode, I thought some of it was also just a front as well.
I think what it really comes down to is that he's just not super important to them. So they're just like, yeah, okay, fine,
whatever. Sure.
All right. So John makes one final plea to Mariko to come with him on a ship. Don't go to Osaka. And she says, my allegiance forbids me from doing anything else.
Yep.
So we're starting out on that theme of loyalty, which will be explored further in the episode.
I'm 100% down with Toranaga. Bye, John. We get a quick scene in Osaka where Ishida was gloating. And Uchiba's like, yep, but he ain't dead yet. Like, don't celebrate too soon. And then he pivots to, well, if we joined together, we would be stronger. Hint.
Marry me.
Yeah. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And she's like, and that's the line from the beginning that I said, oh, any goodness you've seen in me. It was just, a reflection of my husband. And because, he's trying to say, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, oh, this girl is trying to put him in the friend zone so hard right now. And Ishida was not getting the hint.
Yeah. And then, well, and interestingly, he does say, like, let us stop pretending that the Taiko was that good.
Yeah.
Because Chiba, she's thinking.
Yeah.
And you sort of find out later what she is what's weighing most heavily on her mind.
Yes.
But for now, we sort of cut away from that back in Edo with all the peeps, Buntaro, Hiro, Omi, Yabu, and they're talking about Nagakado. Talk about...
Seems like at first they're, even in death, they're slightly ribbing him. Slightly, not in like a mean way, just like, that was Nagakado.
They all have very different perspectives on it. So Buntaro talks about, no, he was brave, and he seems really... Buntaro and Omi seem the most moved by all this. So Buntaro is really thinking about it. He says he was brave. Hiro's like, yeah, he was foolish. This is Nagakado. He was a...
Yeah. So I guess that's where I got the, definitely different perspectives on Nagakata.
Yeah.
And it ends with Omi. He seemed really moved.
He was really...
And he starts defending his actions. And then they cut away to, an empty space at the table.
And this is where I wrote down the quote from Kiku earlier. Presence is felt most keenly in absence.
Yes.
Which is really demonstrated here. Nagakado was always someone you knew was there. Mm-hmm. You made some fun of. But, he wasn't demanding the attention of either you, the audience, or anyone else in the story. In both ways, he was just there. Now that he's gone, though, is when you feel his presence the most.
Yes.
And now he has everyone's attention. He has the audience's attention. Yeah, Omi is sad. Mm-hmm. He's kind of mad at Toranaga for surrendering because Nagakado died trying to do something besides surrender. We'll return to this theme later, too.
Speaking of absences being felt, Lord Toranaga is not at his son's funeral.
Yep.
Which, that's a huge deal.
That's a big deal.
So is it Hiro and Yabu, right, that are talking and noting Toranaga not being there? Also, that his vassals are all in their battle armor.
Yeah, they talk about his generals. So these are a bunch of people who we haven't seen before, but they're just more members of Toranaga's inner circle. And they're all wearing their armor in protest.
Yes. And Yabu seems to be like, there's a plan, right? There's a plan in here. And Hiro's like, yeah, the plan is that you're going to go ahead of us and surrender all of our guns and cannons to Osaka. So they know that we're still coming. Mm-hmm. We're just, observing our mourning period.
Yep.
And after that 49 days is done, we are going to come to Osaka. That is the plan. And Yabu's like, brr. To show compliance.
Yeah.
Is the big thing.
And it's interesting that Yabu is kind of gung-ho about also taking some kind of action too. Probably because he's so far into Toranaga's camp now, not necessarily by his own actions, but because no one trusts him anymore.
He doesn't want to die.
Yeah, he's always trying to avoid death.
He's like, there has to be something we can do. I didn't do all of this just to end up dying anyways.
Yep.
So they have the funeral. Anything else of note here?
No, not in the funeral.
Okay. Also, Lord Toranaga hasn't seen his new grandson. So
granddaughter, right? I put down granddaughter.
Oh, I put down grandson.
It doesn't matter.
His grandchild.
Yes.
Mariko is visiting Lady Rin, who is the mother.
And Ochiba's sister.
So
sister and I think it's sister.
I think
sister-in-law.
No, I think Rin is her sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ochiba's sister.
Not much new. Just more they're talking about Ochiba? Has she heard anything
Mm-hmm.
from her? And Lady Ren pretty much just says, her and her child will be spared, correct?
Yeah, they said that they'll be spared once Toranaga goes to Osaka.
But
Otherwise, she hasn't heard much from her.
Yeah. And then Buntaro comes in, brings the mood down. Always. The way Lady Ren just seems so awkward. I'm like, they are that couple. They are that couple that always brings the mood down and brings the awkwardness into the room. But
you can tell it's interesting. Coming in, you expect the Buntaro-ness, but he looks much calmer, and you can tell his energy has changed a bit.
Yes, there is a change, and then he surprises them and us in the audience by asking Mariko if he can make tea for her.
Yep. And I heard a little bit about this, but I didn't look into it too much. But from what I understand, these tea ceremonies are a huge deal.
The way they presented it later on in the episode, you could see all of the meaning in this ceremony and how big of a deal it is that it's not her serving him tea. He wants to make her tea. I think that is the crucial point.
Yeah.
So pinning that for now. She says, I'm fine with that.
She's a little surprised that his attitude isn't the usual Buntarness, but she's still very, guarded. But she agrees to go forward.
Which is kind of hilarious in a very sad way that she's not surprised when he, goes off the handle or stuff like that.
Exactly.
But when he does something kind, she's like, wait.
Tells you a lot.
wait. What's the trick? What's the trick?
All right, so now we go see John. He's sort of making his way in Edo. You can tell his language skills have improved greatly. He's talking almost fluently with...
Surprisingly, he is.
He's really, really learned a lot. And he meets the priest. Good priest.
I just put John versus priest. I didn't really write any notes.
They do a little sparring.
Oh, I see you're not staying in Lord Toranaga's place over there. Aren't you? It's strange for a Hatamoto.
It's like, yeah, fuck you.
I know.
See Catholics everywhere I go.
Just staring daggers at each other, getting barbs in.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. Because the priest is there to talk to Toranaga.
On a very important mission.
And that kind of ties into going into the next scene.
Yeah. And the priest mentions, hey, I know your men are here. Are you gonna go see them? And are you gonna go see them dressed like that?
Oh, yes, that's right. Are you gonna go wearing those clothes?
All right, so priest goes to Toranaga, talks with Mariko first, and asks him, how's Toranaga doing? And she says that even she hasn't seen him until now. Mm-hmm. So he's been secluded. And
it's them and Hero's also there.
Yeah. So the priest basically says he sort of reports on their progress because they made the deal in the ship that they would try and sway the Christian lords to his cause, but he says they've been unable to do that. We tried our best. Oh well. Toranaga is not happy.
I just wrote Toranaga is pissy at priest.
Exactly. He says he will now no longer talk to him in Japanese. Mariko must translate for him because he does not deserve to speak in their tongue.
Oh, diss to the priest. You could tell. He's, what? No, my lord.
He tries to talk in Japanese, and Torana's just like, talk to the hand.
Seriously, that's all he had to do. Just put his hand on.
And so the priest reveals that he came there not on the orders of the church. He came there on his own accord, and talks to him about Ochiba and how she hates Toranaga, but he doesn't really see the reason. And he thinks that if Toranaga could ally with Ochiba to secure the future of the heir, because they both care for the heir and Ashido does not, they could turn the tables through that alliance.
I know, that was always the interesting part of her being against Toranaga so strongly. I'm like, he seems to be the only regent who actually cares about her son.
Right.
And so it's only her blind hate from the past that is, this clouds everything. It puts pretty much a lens on, or filter on your eyes of how you see things. So even though it's clear he is loyal to the heir, she for some reason cannot get past what happened.
Yep.
And so Toranaga even asks Mariko her position on this. Like, do you really think Ochiba would sway to my side? I thought she said something interesting here, that I think fear is her enemy. And I think that is the key. She fears Toranaga because of the past.
Yeah, I think it's fear. Yeah, it's fear in general.
Mm-hmm.
Toranaga represents a part of that, but fear basically of many different things sort of, is guiding all her decisions. Fear of maybe death, like being cast away again, like how she was cast away after her father died, and became nothing and had to claw her way back.
Yeah, what happened if her son dies and literally the same thing happens over again?
Yep.
And that fear is blinding her to her actual enemies.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, Toranaga says that this victory would come at too high a cost. Open war.
Oh, yeah, he goes into full defeatist mode.
So I choose a peaceful defeat. My son is dead. I will have no further bloodshed. Sort of shuts it all down.
Mm-hmm.
Against Hiro's objections. Hiro's really starts to be more vocal with him at this point about how he should fight and take some other course of action. But nope, he's gonna accept defeat.
Mm-hmm. And he even, he starts kind of turning on Hiro and the men who wore the battle armor to the funeral.
He heard about that.
And he says they need to sign a pledge that they will surrender with me when we go to Osaka.
Yeah, you can tell he's really he's got a lot of upset people and a lot of ruffled feathers, and he's really trying to stamp it all out and make sure everyone is on board with what he's trying to present here.
Yeah, because throughout this whole episode, we hear everybody going, there's got to be another plan.
Yeah,
There's got to be a ploy, trickery, because, that's what Toranaga's known for. And Toranaga's like, no, there's no trickery here. This is how serious I am. You need to sign this now.
And I think the key is that if his own people don't believe it, then his enemies won't either. He has to make sure that everyone is on board and on the same message here.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing he does give the priest, though, because he does appreciate him, he does seem to appreciate this last gesture and this piece of information. He says he will uphold his end of the bargain and give him his church in Edo.
As long as he goes back to Osaka and tells them what he saw here.
Yep. To which Hiro then goes outside, immediately talks to all the other priests, and like, yeah, Toranaga's going to fight. Because he wouldn't have sent him back to Osaka with a message if he wasn't. So Hiro's not convinced still. So now we go to the tea ceremony. This was a really beautiful scene.
It is so beautiful. It ends up being so heartbreaking at the same time.
So you get this really lovely ceremony, really quiet music. Buntaro's there, looking much more meek than you're used to expecting. But he performs the ceremony, and all I really know about the ceremony is that every little piece of it has meaning. The cups you choose, the way you choose to present things, the setting, all these things all have some kind of meaning. And I think in the book canon, Buntaro himself is known for his tea ceremonies. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I think the whole point of this being that this is a big deal, this gesture.
Because first off, his body language, I don't know, this is just a way more relaxed version. Because even though he's quiet and reserved, there's just this tenseness that's always about him with his body. He just always seems tense. Here it's he's relaxed, and it's not because of sake. It's just him. He's very vulnerable in the scene. And also just with all these details, there was a loving kindness to all these little things that he was doing for her in this. And we went, this is a huge theme throughout the whole show, is the meaning in things, the meaning in ceremonies and objects, doing all these little details. I think this scene really shows off how something just making tea, but how meaningful this whole experience was for both of them.
Yep. So it concludes. She drinks the tea. She compliments him. She says, your performance was wonderful. And I think here, though, he says some things that I think break the spell a little bit and sort of because she's obviously very conflicted about this because it's not what she was expecting. He does make a comment about John. Yes, are you still under the engine spell? And then he says something. He's sort of choking up, and he's like, I remember before, when we first met, we were so happy. And she says, I struggle to remember clearly, which is a very nice way of saying maybe you were happy. And I think that's despite this turnaround that Buntaro has, and maybe he's finally realized something 16 or so years too late, but ultimately he still fails. He never understood her from the beginning.
Yeah.
So he doesn't understand her now. From his view, they were happy. But we already know from her perspective that she wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it actually does bring light a little bit to this flashbacks, because I was wondering kind of like, what was his perspective like going into this marriage? Like, of course, it's great for him and his clan, but did he really love Mariko? And it seems like, I'm guessing from his perspective, at least those 2 years they had before her father became the traitor, I wonder if he really was in love with her. And maybe that was the moment he thinks it all went sour.
Right.
Because he denied her death, and then she became ice cold, where I wonder if she was always in a way kind of grave rocking him, but it didn't really register until after that.
Yeah.
Because he's in just like bliss mode,
And also I think even if she was maybe not happy because she was sort of still upset about the marriage situation as a whole, but maybe she was fine. Maybe it was a fine marriage. And I think I think ultimately the thing is her saying, I struggle to remember clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't saying that, no, it was bad then. It's saying that the 14 years in between, because of actions he took, were so bad, she can't remember past them. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. We're happy then? It doesn't matter. Yeah. Look at what you've done in the meantime. I can't even remember before.
Yeah, because 14 years of abuse is going to cover up 2 years of, even if it was great.
It could have been the best 2 years of her life. Exactly. It doesn't matter. The 14 years of abuse in between.
Yeah, it's like, buddy, it's a little too late.
It's unfortunately, for all the growth his character has had, he still misses the point, and it's just too late.
Yeah.
He's already done too much.
Yes. He
proposes.
He's like, I think we're going to die in Osaka. So how about we go to our death tonight? We go together as husband and wife. And it's also a protest to this surrender that Toranaga is doing. And she ain't having it.
She says,
I know, I'm like tearing.
Can I get through this quote?
I was tearing up when we watched this. As much as this dipshit has angered me, I would never wish this upon anybody to hear these words.
This is truly one of the most masterclass dismantlings of a person at their core that I've ever seen on screen. Even, oh boy, can't I get through it? Okay. Even now you fail to understand what you've denied me. What you've denied me wasn't death.
It was a life beyond your reach.
Ooh. And I would sooner live 1,000 years than die with you like this. I remember the first time I watched this, that was just like a dagger. Just like, oh, wow.
Shocking.
And what a way to put it, to sort of inverse the usual things you're used to hearing with, like, I would rather die than live with you. It's literally the inverse. I would rather live forever, which she doesn't want to do.
No, she'd rather die tonight too.
But no, forget that. I'd rather live 1,000 years than die with you today for that reason, as husband and wife, because we are not.
Yeah.
As sweet as, you came to this realization 14 years too late.
It doesn't wash 14 years of abuse. Yeah. Like, we just saw one night.
Of now imagine
their
that
life
repeated
together. Yes.
For years.
And yes, I hope he goes on a more positive path. He does some self-searching.
Mm-hmm.
But this marriage is not working, and it's not it. And nothing covers up what you did.
And that's, I think, important to realize is it's you can be happy for some that they have pulled their life together, that they are learning, that they are,
hopefully becoming
recognizing their actions.
Yeah.
But somewhere else.
Somewhere
with
else.
Someone
Yeah.
else. This relationship is broken and cannot be repaired.
Oh.
And she leaves.
Yeah. I'm like, holy shit. When she's, I'm telling you, if you're interested in script writing, watch this show.
Mhm.
Like, this is not even like some over melodramatic thing. Like, she's very calm when she says this. It's just very sharp and pointed and almost taken aback, like you're still not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, the words are so powerful. I was taken aback again. Like, it takes my breath away.
So she leaves and he just breaks down.
It's hard to watch, no matter how much I dislike this man. It's so hard to watch.
Yep. Yeah, because he doesn't get angry or fly off the handle again. He just
Exactly.
He recognizes what she's saying, and I think the weight of all that just hits him all at once.
Yeah, he was in shock at first when she was talking to him, and then when she leaves, that's when it all catches up, and he just starts crying and seeing like big samurai dude like weeping. I'm just like
seeing the fence break down all at once.
Yes, exactly. All right.
I did see.
Oh no!
One comment.
Oh no!
It said, "It's amazing that the Japanese language doesn't have any L's in it because Buntaro's been taking them constantly throughout this show."
That's why they don't have any L's anymore. He took them all.
But yeah, oh my god.
Oh,
all right.
Because later on this episode, something else happens to him. This is like the shittiest day of Buntaro's life.
Shittiest day, but one that is not undeserved. And is good for him. All of these events, they're not just like, they are all learning experiences. He's catching up on 2 decades of learning all in one day.
That is true. It is really 2 decades of learning. All right. So our next scene, is John looking for his crew, which is both humorous and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a mix, but also something John needed to learn.
Yep.
He needed to have this interaction. Take it away.
I thought you were going to.
Oh, sorry. Sometimes
back and forth.
I know, but some of my notes are scanned.
I didn't have ones on this anything. That's why we're both waiting for the other person. Maybe they took more notes.
So all I have is he finds his crew. Only 6 are left, and it says they're barely hanging on. Thing is, the guy with them mentioned, "Oh man, I hope you take them away. They've been drinking all of our liquor," and I'm like.
Is he being sarcastic when you say barely hanging on because they're sitting here eating free booze?
Exactly. That's what I mean. They definitely took a very different approach than John.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just sitting here boozing it up, causing a ruckus. And one of them stumbles out drunkenly.
His name is Solomon.
Solomon, yeah, with like a prostitute. And John sees them and he starts to turn away.
Yes.
But he spots him, saying, "Well, hi."
Also, looks like they haven't really showered much.
Probably not yet.
Gross.
Yeah, they're still in their original clothes. Like you could tell, like he's kind of put off by them now. They kind of disgusted him.
Yes, and honestly, they're kind of both disgusted by each other.
Yeah,
in a way, because Solomon also kind of gives them that look.
Yeah,
because Solomon points out like we are here because of you and your ambition. We could have turned around.
Yes, that's sort of the big reveal here is that their mission was basically done.
Yes.
But he wanted to push. I guess that's the reveal is that he was the one who wanted to push to Japan.
Yes.
Probably based on what they had discovered while raiding the Spanish and the Portuguese. So I'm guessing the original mission, did it not include Japan at all? Is that just something that they discovered after?
Different.
That they're like, oh, well. And so he pushed them to do this, and that's where all their ships were lost, trying to get through this pass.
John first says to him, like, I have our boat now. Come with me, the group. We can go set sail and go back home. And Solomon's like, oh, are we really going to go home? Or are we going to go here? Or are we going to go here next? Or are we going to go to the South Africa? Like,
yeah.
Where are we really going to go, John, with your ambition? I'm just like, ooh, he was dressing him down.
Yeah.
And it gets heated and they have a fight.
Yeah, brawl it out a little bit. John beats the shit out of him.
And the guy who showed him the way there, he's like, after he knocks his lights out, he's like to John, let's go. Oh, they started the fight because he's like, take those Japanese clothes off. Solomon was
take that dress off. Yeah.
pissed that he came up with Japanese clothing.
Yep.
And so the priest was right on the money on that point.
Yep. Yeah, John's he's been so far removed now.
Yes.
That his own people feel alien to him.
Yes. So he's truly, like he's in the middle.
Trapped in limbo.
Yes.
Doesn't belong in either world now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the memorable part is literally him seeing Solomon stumble out and just the disgusted look on his face. I'm just
oh man, was this me?
It's like, I can't.
Because it kind of was when we first met him, but he is different now.
He can't go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, John, on the heels of this, goes to Yabu.
And Marco is there to translate.
Yep. And he basically proposes, okay, Tornaga's a dead man, but I want to sail under your banner. And Marco's like, do you really trust Yabu? And he's like, of course not. He's a shitface, but he's a brave shitface.
We are birds of a feather.
But Omi is there too. You can tell Yabu sort of likes what he's hearing.
Yeah.
Because John's complimenting him, and I know you're a brave, you control. And I think one of the things that really resonates with him, he says, you make your own fate, or I make my own fate and you're the same, something like that.
Omi turns his head and literally is just staring daggers at Yabu. Like, don't you dare.
So Omi's like, no, that would be betrayal. So Yabu's like, yes, of course. I decline.
Yeah, because both Marco and Omi are like, this is treachery. Like, to Toranaga. Like, you can't do this.
So they decline him. He tries to make another go at it. This is where he really, he
lays down his swords. He's like, see, I'm not Japanese. Yeah. I don't belong here. I never belong here. This is what you say. You make your own fate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't belong in Japan. He's trying to speak in Japanese at this point. He's like, but own people, strange. Like, his own people seem strange to him now. So he doesn't really belong anywhere. Talks about them meeting on the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
How that really impressed him. Yabu's feeling pretty good. And this is where you get the death glare. He looks over side and was just like,
don't you dare.
So Yabu's forced to decline again.
And then there's an interesting exchange between John and Marco, because Marco's like, he's loyal to Toranaga. And then John says something in regards to, like, when does it go too far and becomes a disservice?
Yeah, I think that was Omi's line.
Oh, that's
later.
Omi's impression of it, but he says something to that effect.
Yeah, something like, I find it hard to be loyal when it means suicide.
Yeah, pretty much like, when does the loyalty become bad, in essence? Yeah.
And Marcus says, once loyalty begins, it cannot end. Otherwise, it would not be loyalty.
Again, loyalty, kind of a bitch sometimes, but she's right. Like, if loyalty can just be shut on and off, is it real loyalty? Which, as we see with Yabu.
On the flip side, can loyalty go too far?
Yeah.
And at what point do you have to take some other stand or take some other action? So now we go to a wide open expanse next to Edo, because the city's being built. The city's all like being constructed. Yes. This, by the way, for those who don't know, this is Tokyo.
Yes. So
that was Tokyo.
This is prime real estate right here.
So, and Tornaga's been building the city. You see this plot of land, and Willow World lady is there.
Jin.
She's there, and this is the plot of land that she's been promised. So you can tell she's so excited.
So ecstatic. Like, she is so happy. Her dream's becoming true. Yeah.
And it's just this flat, open mud pit.
But she sees it.
But she sees it all, and you could tell she's looking around. You could almost touch it through her expression. And
so behind her is Kiku and Omi, and Kiku is also lit up. She's smiling. She is so happy for her mistress, and Omi's like, me.
All I see is mud.
All I see is mud, and she only got this from your work. And she's like, I am happy to serve my mistress.
Yeah, so we get more comments on service and loyalty that
And this is
her
where
success
Omi,
is my success.
Her success is my success, if I could say the word right. Omi, this is where he says, when does it begin to become a disservice?
Yeah. Yeah, he's sort of really struggling here.
Yes.
Because in his meeting with Yabu, who's very much loyalty to Tornaga, but he's conflicted. Yeah, now he's like, I think he even says, I don't know what I'm fighting for anymore.
Yeah, because we even saw the beginnings of this in the last episode when he was talking to Nagakado about, like, I wish everything was before, when it was peaceful. Now it looks like he's going to his death.
I wonder if he feels responsible for Nagakado in some way.
Oh.
For their conversation leading him in that direction.
Maybe.
Because he's had a lot of influence over him, you know. Maybe that because he knows he can influence him because he basically influenced him to kill Josie.
Yeah.
So I wonder if in some ways that's why he's so broken up. It's like, did I do this?
Okay.
With my words?
I can see that.
Yeah.
And Omi, and then of course he said, I'm just having a hard time seeing it, like you said.
Yeah.
And then Kiku's like, if you're having a hard time seeing it, just look closer.
Yep. Just gotta look harder.
And then we go over who else is on our beach in our mud pit. Down the beach, it looks like, oh, there's the priest.
Yep. So the priest, he's looking at his plot of land. Oh, great. This is where our church is going to be. He looks over and sees these people. He's like, oh, who are they? Oh, those are your neighbors. Believe they are courtesans. It's like, whoa.
I just wrote down, Tornaga's a petty bitch.
troll to the last. Master of trickery.
Probably one of his best schemes. Anyway.
You're going to get your church. It's going to be right next to the brothels.
This is where we head back to Osaka.
Yep.
The Taiko's wife, she's dying.
Yep, she has a stroke. So Chiba goes to her. This is where the wife makes one final plea to her. Says Ishido comes from nothing, and he is nothing. And basically urges her to dump his ass.
Don't marry him.
To save her son, who he does not care about. Yeah.
A sad, touching scene.
Yeah, and you can see this is, one of her, I think, closer friends here, because of their, tied destiny. Because you've seen her talking to her before. Because we did finally connect to the person with the, I think the wife is the person with the shawl or whatever that we saw earlier. And we saw her talking to Ochiba one-on-one and giving her some counsel before. So I'm assuming that they have a pretty good relationship because they both raised their son together.
Also, I think they know each other's secrets.
Yeah.
In terms of this child. So if there's secrets to be had.
So if Fear is Ochiba's enemy, now here's her one of her closest confidants.
Oh.
Since Maruko no longer really is, because they're so separated, is dying and is leaving her. And you can I think you can see the fear coming back to her face with that realization.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense why Taiko's wife probably became a confidant, because, this is around when Maruko's dad killed her dad.
Yep.
So that's kind of lost.
Yep. So I imagine they're pretty close. So you can see this is a big deal for her. But for now, we jump away from that back to Edo, where Toranaga has summoned all of his generals and his vassals together. And he asks for them to sign a document with their signatures saying that they will travel with him to Osaka to accept their fate.
Time to sign your death warrants.
So Yabu signs, and it goes to the generals, and they refuse.
Omi signs too, and
Omi signs too, but he's
shaking because they know what this means. Yeah. So get to the
generals refuse to make a big stink. Toranaga points out, what is more important, our clan or Japan? And at this point, Hiro speaks up, and I think it seems like Hiro is really trying to draw, because he even tells one of them to hit one of them, or maybe it was Butaro's thing, to be quiet at some point. He's just like, no, I'm going to take on this protest.
Yes.
Just me. And
shut up.
And he challenges Toranaga and said, basically, if you don't desist from this action, then I must commit seppuku at once. And so now it becomes this game of chicken.
Yeah.
and they're staring each other down, and it's who's going to break first.
Yep. Hero's like, you're throwing away what we fought for. He's trying to get underneath his skin. Lord Tornago continues to refuse to change his mind. It's just...
Yeah, it's all coming down to this.
This was a hard scene to watch again.
It's really testing Tornaga's resolve here in his decision.
Mm-hmm. And then Hero says, your vassal will die. I'm going to die in vain, pretty much. And Tornago says, then die.
And it was just like, what?
That's, the shift in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And Hero asks his son, mind you, Buntaro, to be a second.
Yep.
This is where I wrote, what a shitty day for him. Oh my God.
Now he has to kill his own father. And Buntaro asks him, let me die with you then. And Hero says, no, you must live. And then you will know what it is to deny someone else their death. Directly referencing Mariko, basically. So this is his final lesson that he needed to learn.
I'm glad he saw his daughter-in-law.
Yeah. Yeah, because he hasn't really commented on it much.
They don't
at
really all. We haven't really seen much interaction between them. There was one meeting like towards the beginning of the season, and seemed impressed by her. But yeah, I wasn't sure what he thought of the situation.
Right.
And here, it made it very clear that this was his parting words to his son.
Talks to Tornaga, calls him my one only friend, but Tornaga will not budge. And they exchange the looks they're giving each other right now. Their 8 fold fences are about to all 8 folds of them are about to fall down.
Yes, no, all.
They are just like racked with emotion.
It's intense.
They exchange a look, and then Hero says, "Then this is farewell," and he dies. And the room is shook. One last thing he does say to Buntaro before he dies is, "Do not give up on our Lord, even when it looks like he has given up on himself."
I don't know what to say.
It's crushing for Hero.
I know. He was one of my favorite characters. And I remember when we first watched this, I was just crying. I was like, no! I thought, I think we're so accustomed to certain types of things that happen in shows. Also, I didn't know this was supposed to be kind of a one-off. Like, I know they're doing a second season, but for the mind of the creators at the time, it was like
right. It was a one thing, yeah.
Limited series. So I'm like, he's not gonna die. Like, there's gonna be a last minute like switcheroo. And when he committed,
and not only that,
mad.
if anyone else in the room who here has been going on telling me, oh well, yeah, Tornaga's gonna fight.
Yeah,
fight. But here, when it came down to it, Tornaga refused to back down. He said, I am accepting defeat, even if it meant his closest friend's death.
Yes. And
so if there were any doubts in the room about Tornaga's intentions, they are not there now.
Yep.
Everyone is there. They know what's going to happen now. It is a certainty. This is Tornaga's wishes. And so after this, we get a meeting of Tornaga and Mariko.
Or first, do a poetry slam.
Yeah. He asks her, they do disagree with what happened. She says, I won't deepen the wound by disagreeing. And they do some poetry. Which I wish I wrote down, but it was going back too fast. But
again, poetry slam, that's all right.
Mariko wins the poetry slam. Tornaga concedes defeat again. Says your poetry was always superior. And then asks, so has John gone to Yabu yet? She says, oh, yeah, but Yabu refused.
He refused.
And Tornaga says, he'll change his mind after tonight. Hiru made sure of it. And he comments on Yabu and the engine are, what does he call them?
I don't know what type of bird it is.
Some sort of bird, but it basically says they are short-winged and predictable.
Ouch.
And now Mariko's coming to the realization, wait. You planned this. Hero knew and died for this plan.
Yeah. He knew his duty.
And you can see some of Tornaga's inner heart coming out here, talking about Hero and how good of a friend he was.
I mean, yeah.
But he knew what had to be done, because the only way to convince their enemies that he had truly accepted defeat was this.
Yep. Like, Hiro is a true ride or die. Like,
Yeah.
the ultimate.
Yeah, when you talk about loyalty and
MVP.
can it be at the service, can it go too far? How far does loyalty end for Hiro? It did not. It went to his end. And yeah, this is the big bombshell that Hiro, and now you can look back on it, like the looks they were exchanging. They were talking about, oh, you must do this, back down. The words they were saying was for the room, but the looks they were giving each other were for each other because they both knew. The
deep sadness, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we ever get John finding out what Hiro did. I'm like, man, I wonder what his perception would be of Hiro dying for Toranaga.
By the end of the show, I think he would understand. But we never see his actual reaction. So he says, Osaka has to believe my defeat is real. And are you, Mariko, ready to do your part?
I'm ready.
So this is like the culmination of her whole journey throughout this whole show.
Yeah, they do pushing on her face. Like,
nice extreme close up there. And she looks determined. She has a purpose now. She's always been fluctuating between like death and life and loyalty and John and all this stuff. And now there's no more confusion. It is laser focused on what she must do.
Yes.
She knows what her purpose is. All right, so we get a brief glimpse at Osaka.
Yeah, it was like just the slightest.
But basically, the mother has died. The wife has died.
Mm-hmm.
Taiko's wife has died, and I think you can see the fear consuming Ochiba. And she goes to Ishido, and I think the implication is she's accepting his offer.
Yes, she's gonna marry Ishido.
Obviously, didn't want to marry Ishido, but now like her only real friend has passed. It's the fear.
Yeah.
Well, Ishido is offering me some kind of safety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's going to go with it out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because she believes, anyway, that she has no other alternatives.
Yes. I think that's the important part.
Yep.
She thinks this is her only option.
So now we're back at Edo, and we're on the boat.
Yabu is doing what Yabu does.
Yabu went and talked to John, and now they're allies. They're together.
Man, does Toranaga just like have this fool pegged? Like he knows exactly what he's going to do. He is truly, these two are truly predictable.
Yep. Which is weird because Yabu is also like kind of crazy and unpredictable, but he's predictable in that he's unpredictable.
Yes.
I think it's more like he's unpredictable to those who don't understand him, but Toranaga does, and so Toranaga can predict what he does. Which also I think is why he can manipulate him so well and others' perceptions of him. Like he really masterfully like shut off his link to Ishido because Ishido would never suspect that Yabu could be manipulated like that because he probably sees it in the way everyone else does as someone who is unpredictable. But so the fact that Toranaga could bend him like this did not cross their minds. So it must have been Yabu. Yabu must have done this on his own. Therefore, he's against us. So drove him back into Toranaga's camp. So yeah, really just had him down to a T. So they have a little bro moment.
Yeah, and Omi's on the boat too, trying to convince him not to.
Yep.
Which I was surprised. I thought after what happened, because Omi was shook after seeing Hiro die.
Yep.
But he's like, you can't do this. You can't go with him. And Yabu, like, I'm not allying with the crazy old man.
Yeah.
And then he goes to John and they're like, allies. Like he's trying to teach her the word for allies. And then who's to show to go to Osaka with them? But
Mariko.
There's a little letter from Lord Toranaga requesting that she go with them to Osaka.
And she has a very much a look of determination on her face. Mm-hmm. She is a woman on a mission.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Mariko boards, and now they're all off to Osaka together.
Our last scene, before I go into this, so throughout this, we'd mentioned in the beginning, Toranaga had a bad cough. And then throughout the whole episode, he's been missing. When he comes into
pale,
when he comes into room,
he looks in bad shape.
People are helping
him walk.
Walk. So he just looks completely like the portrait of defeated.
Yep.
So then the last scene, he gets up from his bed, pops up.
Boom.
He took a Z-Pack, baby. He's ready to roll.
He's decided, I'm not going to be sick anymore.
No.
Steps out into the sunlight. Now, here's a question. Was he sick?
No. I think it was all an act.
Yeah, maybe. This is the eternal question for many, many aspects of the show.
Interesting.
Is what are the things that Toranaga controls and what are the things he doesn't, but he takes advantage of? I think he was probably faking it, but I think it's left sort of a little intentionally vague. There are many things in here that are sort of left intentionally vague of like, it's always left you guessing. So wait, did Toranaga plan that or did he just take advantage of it? Did he plan that? Wait, did he plan that? Did he plan that? Because he planned so many things.
Oh, so like maybe he had a cold and had the cough and he really like, right? God, I'm dying.
I mean, it goes back to, so here, let's talk about the rest of this first. So he comes out, he's looking big glow up.
When the meds kick in.
And the first thing he does is he visits his son's ashes.
Yeah.
And man, I'm just choking up throughout this whole thing. He thanks his son for buying him time. He bought him a little extra time, him and Hiro.
Yeah.
And he says, I will not waste it. I will not waste it.
Yeah. Sip to both of them. That's why I said I will not make fun of Nakakata for the rest.
Yep.
The show, because he did some dumb things, but Toranaga's right. This actually, it's crazy how Nakakata wanted to help his dad so much and go to war and do this. And his death is the one thing that actually helped his father out the most.
Ultimately, he was able to help.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good example. Like, did he orchestrate the events that led to his son's death? No. But he didn't waste it.
That's the key. So yeah, he probably could have gotten sick and he's
Maybe
like,
he did.
I'm taking this opportunity to look like an old feeble man.
Because he did also, it wasn't just that he was, I can cough and hobble around. He looked pale. He looked sick.
True, he did look a bit rough in a couple scenes.
But maybe he just decided, I'm not, he wasn't eating. Who knows? Who knows?
He could have done anything to up that. Yeah,
I think that's the point. It leaves talk about the truth and legends from earlier episodes.
Yes,
it elevates Toranaga to legend status because you're left wondering if there is nothing beyond his ability to control. Now the reality, he takes advantage of what he can get. But there are things he does control. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that is what really makes Toranaga and makes his enemies and allies view him with such awe.
Yes.
Because from their view, maybe he did plan everything. And it's almost like it makes him like a godlike status that's just untouchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, the episode ends there with I will not waste it. So now we got Toranaga emerging. He's no longer sick. Yabu, Mariko, and John are on their way to Osaka, and the stage is set. Now, I know you talked about you should watch it. You really need to watch it. Especially before these last 2 episodes.
It's their last chance, folks.
Yeah. Next episode is where it's at.
I'm very excited to rewatch it, but also I don't want to rewatch it. It's one of those. It's just like this one. I wanted to rewatch this, but I knew, especially with Hiro's death, this was a difficult episode to rewatch. Yeah, any more thoughts before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean, covered pretty much everything. You can see, the big theme of this one was loyalty. Yeah. How far does it go? How much are you willing to do? And is it worth it?
Yeah. All right. So we are going back to 1 episode a week. So next week, we'll be back on Wednesday with episode 9. See you then.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.